Happy Sunday, y'all. This is Matt with Honor Your Health. I hope everyone is having a great morning. It's kind of gloomy here in Eastern America, but here we are. I thought I would come on and talk about moving the goalpost because it kind of ties in line with what I talked about yesterday with perfectionism and kind of always bypassing your wins and moving a little too quickly. And it's typically because we can't just be satisfied or happy with what you have. A lot of times when you're moving too fast or when you don't just like acknowledge your win or acknowledge how far you've come, you get trapped and lost. So, something that I even was sitting with this morning in my journaling process was just how fast sometimes even I moved in my life to kind of grow up too quickly, or because I had to, in some regard, we've all had to parent ourselves in some regard, right? So sometimes you move too quickly because you think you have to be in a certain place. Like, let's say, you know, you want to become a millionaire or start a business, or doesn't matter what the goal is or what the aspiration is. Sometimes when you start, you don't realize how many lessons that you've learned. So as opposed to going back and going, wow, I started business, 8 years ago, um, how much I've learned in the process. And, most of the time I'm so used to like thinking about what I need to do next or what I need to accomplish next. And that's very, goal oriented people or solution based people are very much, we're always about the next thing or the next problem versus, wow, I've really actually come a long way. We never celebrate the fact that, damn, I've done a lot of work on myself, or I've loved myself more deeply, or I've gained a better relationship with money and my flow and my management, or I've gained a better relationship with myself or what have you. But I think it's because we're always looking at the problem versus the solution. I talked about this a bit yesterday too. And I find it to just be a little like not troubling, but just if you're always looking for the next issue, you're going to find it. It's like that saying, like, seek and you will find. If you're looking for a problem, you're going to find it, right? I had a client come in a couple weeks ago, and we she kept on saying, "Oh well, this I have this one thing here," and I was like, "But wait, let's talk about all of this." And she couldn't hear me, right? And I kept on saying, "Stop, just stop right there. I need you to hear how you're talking to yourself. I need you to hear how, I want you to say what you just said back to me." And she couldn't even say what she said back to me because that's how unconscious she had been in her life. And so I said, "Stop." And I said, "This is what you just said, and I want you to hear it." And guess what happened? She broke down into tears. And I allow people to just sit with it. Go ahead. It's okay. You're safe. You're going to be fine, right? But so many people, they say these things, they say these words in their head, and they don't, and even out loud, and don't even realize that they're saying it. And it could be something as simple as, I don't know, it's hard to make money, or it money doesn't grow on trees, or whatever you tell yourself in your brain, or I can't possibly be loved, or I'm not worthy of it. And you say that in your brain, but because you never say it out loud, you don't even hear your own thoughts, right? Which is why I like to journal. So if you're constantly moving the goalposts and you're constantly like, well, I did that, but I want to be better. I want to be more perfect, or I want to be more whatever the next thing is, right? If you're constantly moving that goalpost, it could even be, and I've done this before too, where let's say you have $5,000 in your bank account, right? Instead of being grateful that, wow, I've saved or I've kept $5,000, if you're used to spending, right? If you're so used to spending money and you have $5,000 in your bank account, as opposed to being thankful for the abundance that you have now, you're like, okay, now I need to hit 10. Okay. So then what happens if you go under that, right? You start to what? Panic. Because typically you are afraid of the abundance that you have in your life, even with the 5,000 or the 10, whatever it is. So you're constantly moving that goalpost to say that your money is what's protecting you, or whatever the thing is, right? It could be a relationship or what, like the reason why so many people are like serial daters, I used to be the same way, is because you're like, wow, this person has this quality that I love, but then you're like, but I could probably find something better. Well, why can't you be happy with what you have? Maybe that person's trying to show you something, right? So again, the concept of moving the goalpost is that you have, let's just go to finances, right? You have 5,000, and as opposed to being content with the 5,000, now you're like, okay, 5,000 won't make me happy. I need 10. So then what happens when you go under 5 or when you never reach that 10? You're basically telling yourself it's never enough, right? It's never enough that I can't get to that next place or I can't enjoy what I've got. So then you're telling God and you're telling the universe in that sense, like, no, I'm not worthy of the 5,000. I'm not worthy of giving myself the 5,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to panic myself and I'm going to freak myself out and go into panic mode. And now I don't even deserve the 5. So now I'm going to decrease even more, right? So what I want you to start thinking about is less about the number or about the next goal or what have you, and sit with the contentment of, wow, I just reached that. And as opposed to like pushing through that and bypassing that and going to the next goal or the next thing, I want you to sit with the fact that, dang, I hit that goal and look how fast I'm pushing past to the next thing. Like that's like not fair. If we're being totally honest, it's not fair. And that's why many people's nervous systems are all over the place, is because you're looking for the next high, the next dopamine hit versus, wow, I accomplished something. And the fact that I accomplished that thing is very exciting. I can be totally real with you. I used to be searching for that constant hit. And whenever I would get that next hit and that next high, my nervous system, because I wasn't my brain and my body and my system weren't trained to to just being stable. What happened was I would hit the high and then I would crash, and then I would get like sad and depressed because I was like, oh crap, like I can't, there's no way I can get to the next goal because that's right, I'm not good with money because now my number's under that, and now I'm retraining my brain still that nope, I'm not worthy of keeping money or of managing it. So now I'm going to, sabotage myself again, and I'm just going to spend it because better not, right? So it's just so fascinating when I like listen to how people talk and listen to their behavior. I was even talking to a client yesterday, and she said to me, and she wouldn't mind me, I'm not going to obviously say her name, but she said to me, it's so hard to pay my rent. And I was like, stop. What did you just say? And she was like, what? And I was like, what did you just say? And she was like, I don't know, something about my rent. And I was like, the fact that you don't even know what you just said says it all, right? And I said this, I said, do you mind if I tell you what you just said to yourself? And she said, of course, go ahead. And I said, you just said it's so hard to pay rent. And she was like, oh my God. And I was like, it's kind of fucked up, isn't it? She was like, it is. And I was like, it's okay. But now you're aware of how you talk to yourself about it being hard to make money. And guys, it's not anyone's fault. This is where I want you to realize, like, it's not your fault. It's not your parents' fault. We have been so conditioned to not listen and pay attention to our own thinking and our own thoughts. So the more I talk to people, I literally will stop them in their tracks and say, did you hear what you just said? And the reason why I do is because I did that same thing to myself. I would literally be like talking in my brain, and then I would say it out loud, and I'm like, I am a jerk to myself, right? I'm such a jerk to myself. So instead, that's why I journal, because I will write how I think about something, and I'm like, whoa, there it is. That's the reason why we're not progressing, or that's the reason why I can't be content, is because I don't think I'm allowed to be, right? So I want you to really sometimes talk to yourself out loud, right? Or again, journal, or have a friend or a mentor say something to you. Like, I want you to start like throwing a wrench into the system that you have, right? Because honestly, what you are speaking out loud is exactly how you feel, but nobody has the courage to say, why did you just say that? What are you talking right now? How are you speaking about yourself right now? Nobody has the courage to say these things. And guys, Yes, I run a health company, but guess what? Health is so much of how you talk. It's so much of how you talk to yourself, of how you speak out loud, of how you talk about others, about how you talk about your health, about how you talk about your finances, about how you talk about all these things. And if you're constantly talking like shit to yourself, can you be surprised that your life is the way it is, or why you're stuck, or why you can never just be content and peaceful in your life? It's because you don't believe in being peaceful. You don't believe that you deserve that. You don't believe in these things. So it's like saying, "Oh, I'm bad at talking to people, or I'm bad at talking to." Well, then that's your reality. You're gonna be bad at it. You're gonna be anxious about it, what have you. I remember I was doing a show even a month ago, and before I went on stage for like one of the probably like the second weekend of shows, I was like anxious for some reason, and I just kept telling myself that like, no, you're not gonna hit that no, and no, like panicking about it. And then I was like, wait. Right before I went on stage, I just said, stop. I was like, thank you, universe, for giving me the voice that I need for this. And guys, guess what? The panic went away, and I hit and it was just like it just showed me how much the how you speak and how you think can either calm your nervous system down or hype it up to the point of you can't do something, or that's what your system is used to, right? So I really want you, starting today, just start looking at how you talk, start looking at how you think, start looking at what you're telling yourself in your life. And that might be exactly why you're not getting better, or why you're stuck in that space. I even hate the word stuck. I don't think you're stuck. I think what it is that you are not understanding the words and the things that you are saying. So you're kind of creating, in a sense, what your life is like a mirror reflection of, like, oh wow, I'm still insecure about that, or oh wow, and then you're just kind of replaying that in your brain, as opposed to going, oh wow, yeah, I can't commit to anything, or I'm bad at committing to what have you. It's like, well, you're literally telling yourself that, right? As opposed to going, I have come so far in 3 years, in 6 months, in 2 years. You're already off to the next goal or the next race, that you're like, you can't even like look at what you just did because you're so used to the next thing. And like, I can even be authentic and real with you. Like, we're, progressing into new phases of the business. And there was probably a good year or two that I kept telling myself that until I get to that next phase, I'm not allowed to grow, or I'm not allowed to expand. And it hit me like maybe 2 weeks ago. And I literally was like, oh my God, I'm stopping my own growth. I am stopping my next level or my next phase because I keep telling myself that until I get here, until I get to that next big thing, I'm not allowed to. Do you hear it? It's like, what are you doing here, right? So stop stifling yourself. Stop digging yourself into this, like, if I don't hit this big thing, or if I'm not seen, or if I'm not stressing myself out, then it's not worth it, right? That's what so many of you are, and myself included, right, was or are used to. You're used to being in that stressed out state. So if I'm not stressed out and if I'm not panicking about something, then it's not enough. Then I'm not in the right place. Stop that. Stop that right now. You don't need to live life in stress and panic. You don't need to hit the next achievement to feel worthy. You don't need to hit the next level of something to feel good about yourself. You can feel that internally now. You don't need to go into panic and stress and fear and all those things because again, I did the same thing. I would go to the next place or the next thing thinking, oh, if I get this, or when I get that next level, that's when I'm going to be satisfied. And it's just not true. And the moment that I went in myself and I just said, this is painful, but I need to sit with this. The reason why I would always be stressed out when I hit new layers or new levels wasn't because I didn't feel worthy. It was because I did it because I thought I needed others to see how much I grew or how much I accomplished, when in reality, I was like, I just want to love where I'm at and myself. And that's really the biggest thing, is maybe I don't need to hit the next thing, or maybe I don't need to go to the next level not because I don't know I can do it. It's really because I need to show myself that I can do things in a calm and peaceful way to get to that next place, so that the next 10 years or 20 years of my life are where I want to be in terms of like mentally, right? I don't need to constantly be in this state of being overwhelmed. I don't need to constantly be in this constant state of being stressed and anxious and always looking for the next thing to, you know what I'm saying? So I just really want to caution you, because I had to do this myself and I hope it helps you. I want to caution you on not pushing yourself to another level of life that you're not really in resonance with or in alignment with, right? I talk about alignment a lot with people because it really comes down to, is your old self the one that you're trying to let die off, right? Is that self the one that is, in alignment, or is it your new self, your future self that you're trying to grow into, right? The one that's in peace. I used to go, and old habits die hard, because when you're so used to living in that stress or in that panic about whatever the topic or area of life it is, when you're so used to living there, until you have someone either stop you in your tracks, or until you're confident enough to stop yourself in your tracks, you're not going to move on, because you're still operating in that old self, which says, oh, the debt is where I'm used to, so I'm going to keep digging myself into that. Well, what if you stopped the behavior? What if you just said, you know what? No, I'm done with this behavior. It's going to be uncomfortable to get me out of it, but it's really just the mindset shift of, I deserve to have and keep and grow wealth and all these things. Or I desire, if you want somebody who's stable, you stop going to the unstable relationship or family member or what have you. But until you stop the behavior in its tracks and start going, I need to let that go. Until I let that go, I can't go to the next place, if that makes sense, right? So again, but this comes down to small wins. If you cannot acknowledge a small win through your journey, not perfection, small wins. Wins does not mean my whole body is symptom free and I'm great. No. Small wins over time. Acknowledge your body to go forward into a new state, so that you can go, oh, wow, I don't need the approval anymore. I don't need my need for approval has gotten better. I don't need my mom's approval or my family's approval. I'm just going to do this because it's what I know I need to do, right? There's a lot of power in showing yourself the small wins. It will not only calm down your nervous system, it will bring you to a new level of alignment with yourself and where you are headed for your destiny, right? So I hope this helps. I hope this helps you understand that by acknowledging small wins, by letting your old self and your old belief systems die off, and that's what we call like death to the old self, right? Is you're literally like, you're letting that old mindset, those old patterns kind of go off. And it's painful at times, because you're like, oh my God, is this, and you start to panic, because you're starting to realize, oh my God, my old self is dying off, and this is a little frightening. It is frightening. And if you don't experience, if you're questioning, is this okay? Yes. And that is exactly what you will feel when you start to kind of go into that. Oh my gosh, I haven't said no in my entire life. So when you start saying no to people, it's going to feel terrifying. It's going to feel scary, and it's going to feel like you just killed your next born child, because it's literally that painful, because you realize how much you've said yes to things that you really meant to say no to, right? So it is very real. It is very scary sometimes. So sink into the fear of that. Sink into the scaredness of that, because you're really telling yourself deep down, I just want to be nurtured and I want to be cared for, and maybe saying no right now is exactly what I need to do. But I'm just afraid because I've never really said it, right? And I dealt with that myself, and I sometimes continue to be like, sorry, no. And I'm like, was I sorry? No, but at least I said no, right? So that's a small win, but I'm going to get better at just being like, no. And we in America especially think that the word no is like nasty, cruel, whatever. No just means no. It doesn't mean anything else. There's no emotion behind it. It just means, no, I don't want to do that. And we're also afraid of conflict. So when you're afraid of conflict and just like making people accountable for their actions, when you're afraid of conflict, you're constantly like, oh my God, did I say the right thing? You said the right thing. It's just scary because you're not used to standing up for yourself, or you're not used to just acknowledging where you are, right? So I hope this helps you. I really do. It is these little things that I've done in my life and that I've done with people to say, like, stop right there, listen to what you just said. And if you can't remember what you just said, really sit with your mindset around certain areas of your life. And I guarantee you're going to start to dig deeper, or like fine tooth comb how you think and how you talk. All right. Have a great Sunday. Hopefully it's not as mundane here, but sometimes this weather pattern is nice because it tells you to slow down a little bit and be content. So have a great Sunday. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.